Welcome to Kim and Angela Talk. Kim is a biodynamic cranial sacral therapist, Psych-K facilitator, curious human, forever student, and a loving mum. Angela is a Reiki master, Psych-K facilitator, metaphysical nerd, compulsive learner, and childless cat lady. Come along for the ride as they explore the mysteries of the universe and their own lives, all while enjoying a good laugh together.
Hi, I'm Angela.
I'm Kim.
And together we're Kim and Angela Talk. Hey, Kim, how's it going today?
Good. How's it going, Angela?
It's going pretty well. Actually, it's going really, really well.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. Yesterday I cleared the last of my trapped emotions.
Oh, yay.
So now I'm a perfect human being. Just kidding. Don't worry, there's still plenty of mess going on in here.
More to dig. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's exciting.
But yeah, it was so funny too, because when I got to the end of them, I was like, really?
Are you sure?
There's another, are you sure? Are you sure? I like kept muscle testing and going back, okay, and making sure I didn't.
I don't believe. No. Oh, that's fantastic though.
I know, yeah. Because it's like there was a lot that I had to do, and the final session was, I think, only 6 trapped emotions. So it was like, yeah, and it was pretty awesome. And I've just been feeling really good since then.
Oh, that's so good. So
yeah,
good. It feel light.
I do. I feel a lot lighter. I feel like, just more even too, and just so there's this thing, happiness is external, like, or based on external circumstances or whatever, but joy comes from within. And I feel like I'm actually feeling joy.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is, isn't it? So I'm pretty happy about that.
Very, very, very good. I'm so happy. Nice work. Lots of work.
I know. Oh my God, I know. There's a lot. Yeah. So, but it's great because now it's like that energy is no longer in my system, and there's, like I said, it's more stuff, I haven't gotten to the body code yet. When I finish doing my emotion code certification, I'm going to start doing that. And then our friend Claire, who does body code, she's like, oh, but you can have hidden stuff around your organs, all this stuff that I'm like, okay, wait, not yet.
One little bit at a time.
Yeah, it's like, let me get through the emotion code first, and then I'll worry about that other stuff. But like, at least I feel like really good about having released all these trapped emotions from my being. I feel like there's like now no longer, I don't know, the thing with the trapped emotions is it kind of amplifies the other things that you're feeling, if it resonates, if it's the same thing. And I'm really thrilled because, like, the last one I released was unsupported.
Cool.
And
okay.
So, and who wants to feel that, like, or have that feeling amplified even? And I might tell you a little bit more about that later on off camera. Sorry, folks. I have to have a little bit of privacy.
Right, a little bit. You're allowed.
But yeah, and also seeing this work, how it's helping other people, like, and this is just in the practice. Oh, actually, this is one of the things that I definitely wanted to bring up today. So it's kind of perfect because, like, I mentioned I'm doing this for my mom and my dad too, right? And my dad emailed me today because I sent him the what gets released, and he emailed to me today. He said, like, early this morning, and okay, should do my impersonation of my and okay, I can't really do it, but he's got a deep voice, he's a big guy. And I couldn't explain, and I really don't understand what you do, but I feel it, and I know it's good and positive. I feel a hell of a lot better, less pain, more energy, and better attitude. When I read the list of the emotions you've released, I somehow relate to all those things. Sometimes I get a flash from the past, but generally it's just a feeling. I'm so glad you're my kid. Love you.
Oh, how nice is that? That's super.
Yeah. I know, and it's great to hear him having these positive experiences, because he's 78 years old, and he's had a really very, very interesting life. My dad could have his own podcast just about stories,
adventures.
Oh my God, like all the stuff that he's done, all the places he's been, just the people he's known. I mean, he's an amazing storyteller, and he has like the funniest, craziest, most messed up stories. Like if I ever really want to freak somebody out, I'll to like tell one of my like this particular story. I'm not going to tell it on this podcast. That'll be for a later time. We need material. But it's just, I'll like tell like certain stories and people are just like, oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Can't believe it, but it happened.
Yeah. But and just the fact, I think, because a lot of it's because he just did some crazy things, operating through his own trauma or whatever. But because his early life was not good, and also seeing what's released in him and then in me, especially when they're inherited trapped emotions, like stuff he got from his parents. Oh, because this is the other thing. So I was talking to him this weekend, and like before I did the emotion code session for him, and I knew that his mother's brother had drowned, right?
Okay, yeah.
And this was like right after her father had drowned at sea, but like fishing, like working.
Okay.
But my great uncle died in a swimming hole, and he was swimming with a bunch of friends. And so I guess apparently foul play was expected or suspected.
Yeah.
So like it's most likely that like he was murdered, or like something went horribly wrong, and maybe it was an accident, but it wasn't his fault.
Right.
Like he didn't just drown. It was like, and of course nothing ever happened to it.
Wow.
About it, because it's like,
yeah,
early 20th century, 1900s.
Right.
And it explains a lot about my mom or my grandmother and how, and their relationship when he was growing up.
Right.
And it also kind of goes back to the last episode when we were talking about how you just don't know so many people's stories. Like you can have all these opinions about how they act and where they are, but you don't really know what's going on, like what the background of that is. Right. So when you're judging that person for like what you can only see, if you were to actually know their story, yeah. So yeah, so like so much, a lot of trauma, and like definitely like drowning is one thing accidentally, but for them to suspect that it was murder, or like other people were responsible, but never be able to get any kind of justice out of that. Yeah. And I didn't know that. I knew about the drowning, but I didn't know about that part. So I was like, oh wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, a little bit. It's interesting with this work, talking to family, that different things kind of bubble up to the surface that we didn't know before. I find that interesting too.
Yeah.
Parents' age, it's like, finding all these new little tidbits. But you wonder too if it is releasing stuff to then allow for the freedom of expression of whatever did go on in the past that now is able to come up too. So it's an interesting synchronicity of timing for stuff.
Yeah, because it's really after I started doing this work on myself, and then started working with my dad a little bit with Reiki, that I learned a lot about his family history, and about my grandmother and grandfather, and like how he was brought into this world, and his struggles when he was like a little kid, because they were very, very, very poor. Like he had like one set of clothes,
right?
Like, so he went to school in the same clothes every day, and it's like, and that was hard for him, definitely. And that's just one thing.
Yeah.
But it's just really interesting to learn this stuff, and then to learn more about like it kind of really puts everything into perspective. So yeah, pretty crazy.
That's great.
So that's what I learned.
You did. Yeah,
but but at the same time, it's the past, and those trapped emotions have been around that stuff have been released now, because I think that was an inherited trapped emotion of despair, which makes total sense. But now they're released from our system. And the great thing about, like, especially with the emotion code and releasing the inherited trapped emotions, is it then is released from who all the ancestors that you inherited from, which has come up actually quite a lot in some of my practice sessions. One of my practice clients is First Peoples.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's just trauma from 13, 20 more generations back that have been passed down to him. Wow. And then releasing that, really, it releases it from all of his ancestors that held that trapped emotion as well. So yeah, it's really, really interesting, powerful healing work. I love it. So awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love all this stuff though. It's all good.
It's all good. It's all exciting.
Yes.
Anytime there's healing, it's exciting. So,
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what's been going on with you the past week?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as we were leading up to doing the podcast today. And basically the struggles this week are still the fun special diet that I'm doing following with my daughter. And I'm not going to say that it's gotten any easier. I'm still really wanting a cup of tea. And I'm also still craving sugar. So I'm not quite sure when that's going to subside a little bit. But I feel good. My head is clear. So that, I'm going to say, is a definite bonus. So yeah, so overall I feel good. I'm just like I just want sugar of any description, even fruit at this point. It's just like, would be great. But yeah, so that's still a bit of a struggle. Then what was the other thing? Oh, the other thing was kind of a thing that popped up. It's one of these weird, again, videos that pop up on my feed, and then I click, and then it's like, oh, that's interesting. I think this was actually a show on the Gaia network that I watched. And it wasn't so much about the person that they were interviewing, but it was kind of a little key concept, which is a little bit out there. So just forewarning the audience, a little bit out there. So just go with it. This is just new for this week. And it was just kind of one of those like light bulb things that went off. And I'm like, that's interesting. And so he was talking about past lives. And so we've spoken about past lives before and the influences that they, thus have. But if we think of ourselves as, a soul that lives forever and has had many incarnations and stuff, he was speaking about, and maybe I missed this, which is very possible on the whole, past life things. Maybe I did miss that. Is that you, like, when I'm thinking past lives, I'm thinking lives like on Earth, right? So, you could have been someone living in a desert at some point, because I know I've done a regression thing and I was running in sand with sandals that look like very, very olden times, like biblical kind of times. But I didn't get too much more information than that, but it definitely felt old, and I was definitely running. So I don't know who I was running from, but I was running from somebody. It wasn't great. But he was talking about even coming here as a soul and incarnating on Earth, but having been potentially in another galaxy, on another planet, and even being like a not a human, but an alien, like what we like to affectionately call our but even he went so far as to say even a planetary thing in some galaxy that could be like inhabited by dragons, let's say. And so he was kind of alluding to, and what he was talking about was remembering his own, that's what he's on this trek of these past lives. And he's written a book about it. This kind of like I don't know, it's a combination of a fantasy book, past life book, and a romance kind of thing. But it was just, the dragon part came into it because he thinks, going back way far away in another galaxy that he was a dragon on a planet somewhere. And there's a whole big long story that goes along with that. So whether you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. But it just kind of like hit me that, we don't have memories, like conscious memories, maybe subconscious memories, but no conscious memories of these past lives until we do kind of like some of the work that we're doing, where we're kind of dealing with like close past lives on Earth. But he was saying how, as a society or as the collective thinking, we have dragons because we like, the Game of Thrones and the sequel to that one. Like there's a fascination with this mythic creature of a dragon. And he was kind of basically saying like, maybe, maybe someone was, and then kind of had a thought of it at some point, subconscious, or came to them with this vision. And anyway, it was just kind of like all these little dots. And it was kind of like, well, that's cool. I hadn't thought kind of beyond here, but I guess that does make sense that there is a possibility as a soul who can do the universe may decide to come back in a different realm. And we don't even know what realms are all out there. So we don't really know what we could have been. I don't know. It just kind of like in my head go. So like I said, believe it or not, I said it was a little out there, but
yeah.
A little out there.
Well, it's so funny that you're talking about this because I think it was last year I had my galactic astrology chart done by Taylor Norris. And she's great. TaylorNorrisReiki.com. I'll put a thing on the bottom. Because she's also a Reiki master, and she does a Reiki journey when she does your chart. Okay. And my soul originated a very, very long time ago on another planet called Mintaka, apparently. And all of the things, the crazy thing was everything she said totally resonated. And like this planet was like a water planet, hopefully cooler than Waterworld. The movie. Yeah. But the interesting thing is like the more that I keep doing this work, the more people I know that we're connecting with is like, oh yeah, this is also somebody who's had, just countless lives and has been on this journey, and we're definitely here for a reason. So the card I got was from my Into the Lonely Woods deck, which I love.
Yeah.
And I love the artwork, Dan May, I've always been into like, kind of like animation and monster type stuff and creatures. And so Dan May's artwork, I just love it. And this deck is amazing. And a lot of it is about solitude and going inside. It's a perfect oracle deck for introverts and anybody who spends a lot of time alone. And the card I got today was the learning of rights. And so you see there's 3 creatures and they're got like a little blanket that they're tossing a little acorn headed dude up on. So like they're playing, right?
Oh, cute.
Super cute. It's an adorable deck. And some of it's very poignant, but some of it's very just adorable. And the message is, as you wander this path of the soul, you may come upon others like yourself who have formed small clans and found their place in the world. Watch as they celebrate the rebirth of their clan, the rise of the new, the passing of ritual from one generation to the other. Learn of their rights, which can guide us all and be shared with all who have their tender love for other beings within their hearts. Make time for play, delight, and celebration in your rituals. Let them not be so earnest that all joy is dimmed. This is a time for the new, for the unlearned, for the joyous discovery of what could be and what will come. Anticipate this with all the sweetness you can muster.
Oh, I love that.
I know. Nice. Isn't that great?
That is so nice.
And so a lot of like we're finding our clan, like when we're doing this work, as like especially in the past year, like I'm definitely am finding my clan. And then how you met Claire, and then I met Claire and then Claire and Angie were friends, and then like I met them at the health and well-being workshop, and then reconnected with Jay, and it's just like this, like, and then we have our group that we are into, so we have formed this clan, but we're also meeting have other connections with people, and it just seems like we're all kind of through this work kind of reconnecting and both finding other clans and forming our own clans of doing this work. And also so important to like, have this joy about it.
Mm-hmm.
If the spiritual work doesn't have to be all dour and serious all the time.
Oh gosh, what are we working on today?
Because that's boring.
Yeah.
It's like have some fun. When I work with Sam, she's all about amusement and having fun with stuff, and I'm like, yeah, totally down with that. And I definitely feel like I'm feeling it definitely more since having released the final trapped emotions. But I mean, I felt it before that because me, I love to have fun. I take things a little bit less seriously.
Right.
And having joy in ritual, having joy in this life, having joy in our connections with each other and being with each other and sharing this work. And I know some people would listen to us and be like, they're nuts, or that's not what's real. I can't see that stuff. So blah, blah, blah. Well, that's cool, dude. But like,
yeah,
boring. I'd much rather have this fun, have like go through life.
The kind of magic of it all, which has kind of been lost, I think. Everything's just so like learning, and it's all like, well, it's kind of fun when, stuff happens and you're like, what?
Yes.
What surprises you? It's like, what? And it's also cool to have all these insights and learn more about yourself and then figure out, wow, I've always been that way, but I never quite understood why. And now that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's like, yeah, okay, that is part of me. It's like self-discovery. So it is joyful, I think. We harp on all the bad stuff, but it's really fun to find some more enlightening stuff in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Along the way.
Absolutely. Because when you're only focusing on like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, or like, I grew up Catholic and you did too, right? Mm-hmm. And oh my God, talking about joyless.
Yeah, a little bit of guilt.
Just a tad.
Yeah, just
a tad. Yeah. And like, it's lots of ritual and definitely a community of people. And if you're Catholic, well, you probably wouldn't even be watching this, frankly.
Yeah, probably not. But the funny thing is when you look at, I think, is it Carolyn Meese that talks about the different processes that you go through, baptism and and blah, 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 all the way along. And when you look at it through the perspective that she presents, or, the historical kind of reasoning behind it, it's absolutely astonishingly beautiful. And it all makes sense. I don't know where that all got lost in translation. But reading that, it's like, like you want to get back to that. It's like, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful what's behind
it. It is.
But it's so twisted and so lost. It almost seems like two different things. And I'm like, because reading it her way, it's like, that's really what it should be about. It was so much to do with, family, and then, the outer tribe kind of thing. And then, like all these different making sense progression through life steps, as opposed to just kind of rituals just for the sake of the rituals, but not really the whole what's really behind it. Or at least that certainly wasn't taught to me anyway. Maybe some people did or get it, but I certainly didn't as a young person going through all that. It was more just about guilt. Don't do this, don't do that.
It was like a bunch of like old white dudes like telling you why you're going to hell, or like you just kind of sucking all the joy out of life, and like ritual and form, but no real feeling of meaning behind it. But yeah, I agree. Carolyn Mace does a really good description and connection between the covenants. I think that was at the covenants of the Christ or whatever, and in the Catholic religion, and their relationship to the chakras.
Exactly.
And then the tree of life. Exactly. And yes, that tribal progression. And then
and it just kind of made sense, right? When you like leave home for the first time and you go to school, and just the community thing, and it's representing of that stepping out, and then like the next phase. And then, but I think the marriage one, was so fascinating, because it really was not about the other person. It was like, how did she describe it? It was like, gosh, I wish I had the book in front of me, but it was kind of like making a commitment to yourself that you would be the best self that you could be for the other person. It really didn't have to do with it was what you were bringing. Like it was just such a flip on the head. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just love the way she said
Yeah,
it.
I like the way she did it. That was an Anatomy of the Spirit, which I am like halfway through because I got distracted with another book. Squirrel.
Yeah.
I know. I need to get back to that book.
Yeah.
Amongst others.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you know, having that ritual is great and that's a clan, but like, yeah, no joy. And like the things we do and like our experiences that we have, I just feel like are so full of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we go through a point where we have tears because we've like, you know, had to release something or we've had a difficult healing session, like when we've done exchanges or like when you're witnessing for somebody else who's having a very, you know, is processing stuff and is releasing this emotion connected to it, that's like, you know, there's tears, but on the other side there's joy, because then it's like little rebirths, almost little like moments of being reborn of into a new version of yourself, because you've just let go of this stuck energy, this dense energy that's only been trapping you and holding you back and being in the way of you being your authentic self, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'd much prefer this reality where we're believing in fairies and yeah, okay, this dude was a freaking dragon.
Yeah.
I was once on a planet of water with whales. How awesome is that? You know,
Cool.
and wouldn't that be cool? And whatever. And whatever, if it like true, not true, it doesn't even matter. You know, it's fun and it's like I like it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's my reality. And anybody, other people can be all like, you're nuts or whatever, and that's fine, or think that I'm, you know, deluded or whatever. And that's okay. They can totally think that. You know, I've had people laugh in my face about like just doing Reiki.
Yeah.
Because they think that like Reiki is so out there when it's like, okay, heard of quantum physics much? You know?
Yeah.
That fact that we actually can affect energy with our intention. Okay, whatever, that's fine. You can laugh all you want. And, you know, it just makes, I don't know, I feel like that's a very limited way to have a worldview. You know, it's very limited.
Yeah.
Whereas what we do is so expanded. We're, you know, we have this expanded view that's just beautiful and fun. And then we get to meet other people who are in the same zone and like form our cliques and our clans and open to others and find other clans. So I really enjoyed this message.
That's awesome.
You know, and also the fact that then we just continue to learn from each other.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if I hadn't met Claire, I don't know that I ever would have gotten to the emotion code.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's why it's, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It expands and expands and expands.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. You know, and, you know, the work that we've done together, it's like, you know, we met doing BCST and then like, you know, I started doing Psych K and I was like, Kim, you've got to do this.
Then I started doing Psych K and yeah. And there you go. So yeah.
And then we've met really love, and that's how we met Claire and Angie, you know, and Jay. And so it's just like, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fantastic.
It's cool stuff. That was my message for our podcast.
Well, I can jump in there now. Do you feel complete?
I do.
I do. Well, I can jump in with where I got my card from today.
Please tell me it's totally connected.
Funny enough, is from the fairy book.
Nice.
So we only pick these. We don't know each other's messages before we start this, just so people know. So yeah, totally random. So the card that I picked today, which was so totally fitting for other stuff that I didn't share at the beginning with what's kind of going on. This is just too funny. Anyways, here's the card. I will hold that up there. Let's see. 10 of Autumn. It's a tarot deck, this one.
Uh-huh.
And so the little message at the bottom, and then I got my message from the booklet. But so it's take steps to ensure the financial security of your children or other loved ones, making wise investments or planning for retirement, honoring family traditions. So actually, it's funny because when you were talking about the clan and joyous celebrations and whatever, that kind of came into it at the end of the message for me. But the funny part was, so the 2 lines that came out of the booklet were, even if you're young, you can spare some. So to invest, even if you don't have a lot of money, you can always put some away, and then you'll be free of financial worry later. So that was the main message. And the reason that this is funny for me is that yesterday I was having huge financial discussions with my eldest daughter, who through prompting when she started working, I said, I remember learning only when I was older, if you invest even a small amount when you're younger versus if you start when you're older, like exponentially like surpasses the amount. So I said to her, just, even $10 or $100, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just try and put some away. So I took her to the bank and we talked to the lady and set stuff up. Well, now she's leaps and bounds ahead of that. And of course, young people do things online, and so she figured out cost effective. So she's doing she's got her own account on some investment thing, and so she's doing investments on her own, and she's not using a bank lady to go, oh, give me like a chart, whatever, because she's like, no, it's just easy, and she watches other stuff and finds things out and then invests in them and stuff. So she's just really, anyway, blows me out of the water what she's doing. And the reason it even came up, apparently she's been doing this for over a year. I didn't know that. But it's because it's tax season. Yay, tax season. And so usually we do it online, and we have a thing, and she uses the same one that I do. But she's like, well, this thing that I have, this financial investment thing, actually has a free do your taxes thing that apparently now they own that other company. So it's almost a mirror image, but it's free versus the other one's not free. And so she was showing me last night and going over her taxes that she did. And so this whole thing about young people putting money away, yes, and doing financial things and just really like empowering herself and educating herself. I knew nothing about money until I got divorced. And then it was like, well, I better figure that out quick, because it was never a discussion with, growing up with my parents or my grandmother. I made money, babysitting and stuff, but nobody ever said, you should really set some of that aside. I mean, bonds, maybe back in the day, so maybe I'm just aging myself, but there wasn't that kind of mentality. But now there's like groups for female investors that you can, like, just people who get together and educate each other. To not be scared of it. It's like anything, right? Everything seems daunting and scary when you don't know about it. But if you approach it slowly and with a joyous, hopefully, feeling towards it, which I think a lot of people, I know I'm guilty of having to work a lot on money, fear around money, fear of not having money, all those kinds of lovely things. So working on that to come in with a positive outlook, I think is so great. And so that card had that in there. So like I said, that was just too funny. The timing of it, it's exactly what was happening yesterday. But then also along with that card was family connections, extremely important, and being proud of who you are and honoring your heritage, sharing your history, embracing the positive and releasing any negative past events. So yeah, that kind of ties in with your card of that celebratory tradition thing. I think it's important to kind of know where you've come from historically, which I think that's what we talk about all the time. It's like ancestors, and even like we've all come here probably from someplace else. I know a lot of my ancestors came from Europe. And things that went on there, and the history of stuff over there going back, like it doesn't take long to figure out there was lots of things that we carry forward. So Yeah, I just think it really ties in nicely with your card. So,
Yeah, like nobody ever talked to me about money when I was a kid. I
mhm,
started working like when I was 12, like babysitting.
right. You can-
Yeah. And my mom didn't say save your money, or she did, but that was basically so then she could, borrow money from me when she needed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah. I don't know if she ever paid me back either.
Wow, that's not cool, mom.
Yeah. Well, single mom. She worked a lot. She had like two or three waitressing jobs when I was a kid.
Wow.
And had a lot of, so finances weren't easy. But I will say she was a terrible, terrible role model for money anyway. Even if I think if she had more money, it wouldn't have mattered. I think she didn't really know how to handle money.
Right, right.
So that's the kind of life I grew up with as far as financially, like seeing that, because it's
Mhm.
like I basically got the message, why bother saving money?
Right,
You know,
right.
she never did. And
Yeah,
like when I did, it would get, borrowed.
right. Mm, yeah, that's a, as you say, for examples.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
thankfully, eventually I got a lot smarter about that, about money and stuff. So, I don't like have any personal debt or anything like that, which is I love.
yeah,
But
awesome.
yeah, but that's the thing too. It's like so much programming from when we're kids.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Well, like I said, it was a lot of we did psyche on all the financial stuff, and even to the point of needing the amount of stress that would come up. And it's funny because I could literally pace it back to just like, let's say, going to the bank with my grandmother when I was younger. And that was, again, dating myself, but way back in the time where you would have like your little checkbooks and you would have that thing in the middle of the bank that would be like in the middle of where you would go around. So you
Oh
would
yeah, yeah. The little
stuff out.
kiosk with the pens on the chain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so you'd fill it out as you're going around in the line waiting, which I mean made sense as far as like time management. But anyway, but I had no idea what she was doing because it was all like, really kind of hush hush and you did it. And going up and then you exchange things with this woman behind the counter. And it's just like again, as a kid, didn't really get it. And I remember even worse than that, she would again save bonds. That was my grandmother's because that's pretty much all they had back in the day were bonds. And so she was
Yeah.
big into buying bonds, and she even bought bonds for me when I was like really young. And so they would be kept in a safety deposit box in the vault of the bank. And so again, as a kid, it was all like on the DL, and there was like multiple keys. Grandma had to have a key, the lady had to have a key, and then we like quietly, it was always quiet, right? Super quiet, and then you'd like walk in the back quietly, and then you'd go into the vault with all these like little doors everywhere that you're like, what is behind all of this? And that big huge door that you would think was going to close on you at any minute. At least I did, paranoid. And the two key lock thing, and then you take the box and then you go into a little room again all by yourself, and then there's this open, like it was just thinking back to it, it was no wonder I like those kind of movies with all that was just like I had no clue what was going on. Nothing was ever explained. And so banks were always kind of like this stress thing, of like, something on the deal, it's just like, oh. And so I had to do a lot of work with the psyche to even to the point so that I wasn't stressed. Even just the logo of the bank is, it clicks something. So, it's desensitizing and unprogramming all those things that are just all paired together in this one big kind of not processed stress related to, an event or situation that just at the time doesn't make any sense, but somehow gets lodged, and continues through life. Because you're like, why am I so stressed every time I like, there's no reason to be stressed about opening that, but there's something in it that just triggers it. And so it's been a long process, but now it's like, oh, envelope, got the logo, no problem. So great. Yeah. Things.
Yeah. I had to reprogram myself without this before psyche about debt and savings. And actually I have to probably thank the end of my first marriage to for that, because I had to claim bankruptcy because we were underwater in our house that got foreclosed on. And just, so, and I was stupid with that house. I mean, I thought I was doing the smart thing because I was like paying over the mortgage every month, thinking that, oh, I'm paying down the principal, paying down the principal. Well, then I got divorced. I wasn't expecting to get divorced when I was doing that,
Right. In the logical world of that,
right.
Sense. Yeah.
Right. And of course, we bought the house at the very wrong time. So, I mean, all in all, everything works out and happens for a reason and stuff. And I'm totally fine with that. And I will, thankfully, it was a great time to claim bankruptcy because so many people were doing it, right. But especially because of like so many people, like it was because I got divorced right around the housing crash time,
Yeah.
And so, and then after that, I was like, no, I'm not gonna, because we didn't have any debt when we bought the house, but the house, of course, after we bought the house, everything went wrong, as it does.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, after that, released all that stuff, like I don't live beyond my means. I have no personal debt, which I love. And I just, keep a pretty fair head about money. Because like in my last job, at least I was able, I was making enough to save money too.
Nice.
So I was like doing really, really good about that.
Yeah.
So like at least now, all's good. Financially for now, but who knows? Because with the current economy and the current stuff going on in DC, all I get is like dire warnings from everybody who pays attention to the news. Yeah. Like my dad is like, and you got to move your money out of the States. You got to.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary if you look at stuff and what people post and things. It's like, oh my goodness. So no, keep positive. Happy thoughts.
I know, that's why I don't go into social media as we make this YouTube video.
But it's a fun
which
one.
Is different. Yeah. It's different. Yeah. But I'm like, I can't really pay attention to that stuff because it would put me into a downward spiral.
And not be good for anybody.
No, it's way too stressful.
Yeah.
So I'm informed enough, and then my dad, of course, is like always like, move to Mexico. So I was like, that's a possibility. Who knows? Maybe I'll be living in Mexico in a couple months. I don't know.
If it's in the
well, the cool thing is like where he lives, there's a bunch of avocado plantations, which is cool, not cool. When like they're not apparently where he is, they're not doing deforestation, but the cartels run the avocado plantations. Goodness. Oh yeah, anytime you eat guacamole, you're basically supporting cartels.
Fun.
So there's a little bit of cartel violence where he is, but he's like, oh yeah, they don't mess with gringos, don't worry about it. Of course, this is my dad, but who knows? So maybe I'll go down there and like dodge some bullets or whatever.
Oh goodness gracious.
But going back to the message though, it's like we do so much of it like in the wider scope of it, like we are picking all this stuff up from our parents and our kids, and like that's another thing that people kind of have a little judgment about. I'm thinking of someone specifically is like when you see somebody who's like who is in debt, or like they bought a car and they're paying down a loan on it, so they're gonna end up paying like way more. Well, okay, dude, I'm thinking someone who's like, oh, I only pay cash for cars. It's like, well, that's great for you. Not everybody can do that, No. And a lot of people don't, who are coming up in this, especially in this country, like have similar backgrounds where, as I do, where like your parents weren't like good financial role models.
Mm.
They were like, so many people in this country are like paycheck to paycheck,
Right.
right. And they're one paycheck away from being homeless. It's easy to judge people when you have got a lot of money in the bank. It's the same thing like we were talking about, I guess the last podcast or the first one, about like it's easy to judge somebody, if you don't know their story.
Right.
Well, it's easy to judge somebody here about anything really, but if you haven't had that experience, if you haven't had the experience of like, having like positive role models for financial
Yeah, you just don't know
matters.
what you don't know, because you just, and like
Yeah.
you're living paycheck to paycheck, just kind of getting by, and it's like, you do what
Yeah.
you do.
You're learning on the job, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It can be sometimes a tough learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a real tough learning curve. And I hope to never have to do anything like claim bankruptcy again. And I don't think I will, because like I'm not gonna, I know better now to put myself in that position again. But then again, I can say that, but what if I were to like, be in a position to buy a house again, and then everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and then you've got no money?
Yeah.
You don't know what happens with people, so
Yeah. Yeah. We just do the best that we can.
I know.
Yeah.
And going back to my message, that's why I always find it really interesting that more people are not into more community and collective living situations. I think in some Swedish countries, especially after the global recession, like that started happening a lot, but not here. But like I'll talk to some people and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it would be so great if we could have a little community of people, like a little tiny houses, or in like a common area, da da da." But it never really happens. And I have friends who tried to do that on Whidbey Island, but ego's all gotten to the way.
Yeah, that's what you hear over and over again, because I've watched some videos to do with people who did a very nice, like really cute community, and the way they had it all set up with bike trails throughout and stuff, and just how it was all interconnected and whatever. But it was kind of like that same thing. They tried to come up with like, their own kind of legislation-y thingies for like how rules would be for people moving in or people moving out and blah, blah, blah. But it all became exactly that, which is such a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to some guy on Salt Spring Island about that. He had a stand. I think they were selling soap or something from their farm. So they had a farm, and it was like very communal, like it was a collective. Like everybody had their own little house, but they shared in the work of the farm. And his wife that he moved to Salt Spring Island with was part of that community, but I guess like it was her ego was sort of getting in the way. So like a lot of people left, and then eventually they got divorced, and
Oh,
she
no.
left. And then he's like, "Oh, but everything's great now."
Okay.
Because like, and like he had all these books about like consensus building and like different ways of reaching consensus and how that works out.
Right.
And so that was so, and I really wish I know I wrote those books down, and I'd probably just have to look them up again. But yeah, like, so you would think though that more people would be in this country would be more into like intergenerational living or communal living or sharing space, just because especially in Washington state, the housing prices are so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so expensive to live here.
Yeah. No, it is crazy. Yeah. For anybody, starting out, it's like, next to impossible. Yeah. Talking about the communal living thing, there was a whole section of books at our favorite bookstore, which I couldn't believe. There was like tons of them, but I had to not look because I probably would have wanted to buy some. And I'm like, it's a slippery slope to go in a different direction, or not a different direction, but in another direction for purchases. So I didn't. But yeah, there's lots of information out there for sure. Yeah, it's just so funny to me. Like we just can't get along, right? Like even like-minded, whatever. It's just always difficult. So it's just, maybe you'd have to do communal living with mandatory psyching and emotional required on a weekly basis or something, to like, so people don't get activated, because it's, everybody means well, everybody needs the same things, everybody wants the same things in life, but it's just so funny, yeah, because everybody, has their own activations for stuff that you can't prevent, because you don't know what's going to activate someone and what's not. So yeah, we could have the first communal living thing with psyche and emotion code related as a theme. Anyways, yeah, that's all silly. Okay, we're getting silly. So how about we do the card for the audience? Because I think I'm pretty complete on my card.
So you're feeling good, complete with that?
Yeah, no, I think I think we've gone kind of full circle.
Yeah. Okay.
I know.
Well, I think it's time for the message for the audience.
Yay, favorite time.
So this is cool because yours was from the Fairy Tarot, and this message for the audience is from my Dreams of Gaia Tarot.
Oh, pretty.
That I got when we were hanging out at that little new agey bookstore that our friend took us to. That I hadn't you hadn't been there before.
Right.
And so this is like this Dreams of Gaia Tarot is very modern. It's a modern tarot deck and whatever. And this is the
wow,
it's
what a
the
cool
hero.
card. What's it called?
Yeah, the hero.
The
and
hero.
It corresponds to the Knight of Wands in a regular tarot deck.
Okay.
So, and
I love that. It's a beautiful card.
Yeah, and it was actually the what I was drawn to as the message was actually the message in its reversed position. Like when I
interesting
finding the message, I know, which is normal because like normally when I don't do reverse position messages normally unless I'm like guided directly to it. So for the audience, when the hero appears reversed, he represents a need to perform good deeds in order to increase one's self-esteem or worth in the eyes of others. He can be described as a wounded hero, one who needs to be told that he is good by others. Sometimes it is because he cannot see the good within himself, and sometimes it is because he craves the attention. It feeds an emptiness or lack within. Whether his low self-opinion is born of past mistakes that caused others pain or harm, or if it is born of mistreatment and wounds inflicted upon him by others, the hero reverse is often weighted down by feelings of blame, guilt, shame, and fear. The only way he thinks he can assuage those feelings is by performing deeds that earn him praise and glory. When others value him, he can pretend. He can once more value himself. Unfortunately, until the hero can forgive himself or those who hurt him, he will not find that peace. He is doomed to go on one quest of salvation after the next. The hero reverse comes to ask you to look, and I think this is the important part. The hero reverse comes to ask you to look your reasons for helping others. Are your actions inspired by love and compassion or shame and guilt? Are you helping others because you genuinely want to help? Or are you helping others because helping them and earning their praise and gratitude makes you think better of yourself? It could be said that if the outcome, helping someone in need, is the same, regardless of the motivation, then it matters not. It is, however, not a question of changing the outcome, but in allowing the wounded hero within to make peace with the past. Have you embraced behavior that is less than honorable, caused hurt to another because you too may have lied or deceived them? Have you ever been disloyal or unfaithful? Have you hurt someone innocent and now move through life with feelings of regret or remorse weighing you down? We all have moments when our behavior and actions have been questionable. We have all disappointed others. We have all done wrong. Guilt and shame and self-loathing are the tools with which we punish ourselves. They are not the tools of a hero, but instead the tools of a jailer and torturer. The hero reverse comes to tell you that it is time to put those tools aside and to rescue yourself. Only your acceptance and forgiveness will set you free. Forgive your past, be merciful, and embody the compassion of the hero you strive to be.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty heavy.
Wow.
What have you guys done? No, just kidding.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I think we can kind of all relate to that.
Well, yeah, totally.
Totally relate to that. And I'm going to just pipe in quickly with a thing that I learned in when we were studying the biodynamic craniosacral. Our nervous system has different modes of operation, correct? We have the fight or flight, right? Sympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest, which is always beautiful. The parasympathetic one. But along with the fight and flight, we all know when we want to like run away from a situation, or we're pissed off and we're ready to go. But there's also tend and befriend, right? Which is kind of that, making things good, keeping things happy. That's also, an unconscious kind of reaction that we've learned from long ago of how you kind of need to deal with the situation. So kind of tied in with, are you doing things to be like praised because maybe you don't feel good, or maybe you're doing things to just keep everything up, right? Not for any bad intentions, but just almost to keep the peace, right? Without even knowing that that's what you're doing. But it can be as a self-sabotaging mechanism, right? And I only figured that out through learning that was another mode of operation, that you don't always have to be, or fight, frighten, fight, flight, or freeze, I guess was the other one, as mammals that we do. But yeah, I mean, lots to be said on that for forgiveness of self. You kind of get to a point, I think, doing this work where you can, as we've discussed previous to this, being able to forgive others for their discretions, or not having better tools, or kind of gaining a better perspective of what was going on for them, through learning about their story and whatever. But coming back to yourself, which is kind of what this card is all talking about, that's where sometimes it's almost more difficult, because you're like, I should have known better, I should have done better, I shouldn't have done that. A lot of, but we also were like them and didn't know any better, or weren't taught any better, or there was a fear component to it, or whatever, for behaviors of the past, or being mean to people, or hurting people. So sometimes it's a harder pill to swallow, turning the mirror around this way, to say it's okay and love yourself, and realize that little person who maybe got taught some way, or was hurt in some way, that then lashes out at others, right? I don't know how you feel about that, but yeah, sometimes it's harder.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, part of this too, what I thought of when I was reading this card is in Eckhart Tolle, and I forget if it's A New Earth or The Power of Now, he talks about like, well, if you are, and this obviously paraphrasing, if you're thinking, that you need to help people or whatever, it's like you're saying you're like, they need your help, or you're better than them somehow, or you're better off than them, and they're somehow lesser than you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and which is, I totally get his point. And to this card, it's all about your intention and your motivation, right? Like if you're helping someone just to make yourself feel good, if you're helping someone because, it's for your purposes, or so you look good to others, like, then like, yeah, that's not great. That's because it's all about intention, in our work, it's all about intention, right? If you are helping someone out of like a genuine sense of compassion and love, then that's a totally different story. And it's like, I think the difference is like, when you're helping someone out of like compassion and love for that person or for humanity. It's
Mhm.
you're not forcing your help on somebody. Like I was up in Vernon actually doing one of the BCST seminars, and I befriended two ladies there, and one of them was like, "You have changed my mind about Reiki people because one, I'm me, and then two, it was because like she said like she knew would go about and knew people who would be like, oh, I'm gonna give you Reiki and love, and like trying to force that on them, force it on somebody else, like push their energy, push their intention on somebody, when she's like, whoa, 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 I do get off of me, get your clingy energy vampire shit off of me. And I was like, oh yeah. And like when she told me about that, I was like, yeah, that's messed up. I get the why people do that, because like, I said before, when I first did Reiki, I'm like, oh my God, it's so amazing.
Right.
You know?
You want everybody to, experience.
Yeah.
Just
excited. But you have to respect people's free will. And if you are trying to do it to some like mess with someone's energy, like even if it's like you feel like it's to help them, like by giving them Reiki or by doing anything without their conscious permission, then that you're operating out of your own ego. You're operating out of like this ego mess. You're not operating from your heart. So like when people are like, oh, you should give so and so Reiki, because they're blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, they know that I do this work and they haven't asked me. So I'm not going to just go and like be magic at them or whatever. I'm going, it's like, and I'll tell people, like my friends and people, it's like, yeah, I'm always here for you, but I'm not just going to do it, like I'll offer, sure. But if someone's like, no, like I had a friend who was dying of cancer, she passed away, and I offered Reiki and she never took me up on that. And is it sad? Do I wish I could have like supported her in her transition? Yeah, but I'm not going to do it just because it makes me feel better. That was her journey. If she didn't want that, maybe she was getting that support from somebody else, somebody that she was closer to. Because I wasn't like, we weren't like super close or anything, but she was somebody I cared about, and I was like, I can't go about like, forcing my beliefs and my stuff on other people just because I think it's awesome and I think it's the best. Well, yeah, it's the best and it's awesome for me. But if somebody doesn't, and the other thing is like, well, especially with Reiki, is like if they don't want it, it's not going to work for them anyway. So you're just wasting your time, But it's like, it's always looking about your motivation about why you're doing this work, and why you're helping people. Are you holding space for that person to have their own expression of where they're at that time and their own expression of healing? Are you trying to put your junk on them? I have another friend who is also a BCST practitioner, and she was telling me about every time when she was in the class, when she was working with a specific person, she'd have a headache for 2 days afterwards because that person was like pushing their energy. Like they're like they weren't holding space. They were trying to actively do the work themselves with their own energy. So like it was messing with her field, and she was like, but she couldn't always avoid this person. I think either she was a student or she's a TA, it doesn't matter. But and it's like, yeah, that's kind of messed up. And it's like, and it's one of the reasons why I love Reiki. And like if you're doing BCST properly, it's not about you and your energy. It's about source energy. It's about the Reiki. It's about with BCST, it's about that person expressing their own inherent health, not about you going, I'm gonna heal you. Let me heal you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about that. Same thing with Psyche, well, Psyche is totally active. Same thing with emotion code, body code. It's like, don't just do this work on somebody if they don't want it. It's, and it won't work anyway. And then what does that say? people need to look at their own motivations when they try to do that stuff.
Yeah, well, like you said, I think it is obviously it's ego. I mean, I think, part of us want, I think the thing is we always want to help everybody. I mean, I think it's just a thing, right? So if somebody's in pain, you want to help them. You want them not to be in pain. But I think with all the different things that we've learned, it's more about holding the space so they can be in pain and you support them through that to get through it. But yeah, it's really hard because we're a fix-it kind of society kind of thing. So you want to fix them. And I know in the beginning for me too, with the BCST, when you're touching into someone's system, holding in at the feet, it did take me, to be honest, a while to figure out, because we're trying to learn and we're trying to sense stuff, you're kind of like all up there, right? And it's taken me a very long time to really sit back and be comfortable and invite that person's energy in and just wait, because it'll show up, and it kind of needs that flow of that space and acceptance where it's not like, okay, gotcha. It's like, no, that's not how it goes. But I think there's that fix it, or that almost kind of like, personal failure if this doesn't work, but then getting really cool with the concept that we all have the power within us, and you're just supporting that person's power to do the healing themselves from wherever they are to wherever they want to go, wherever that might be. And that's not up to you to decide where they want to go, or what they want to heal before they go, transition, whatever. It's really up to the person. But as a fix-it kind of mentality, it's easy to kind of go down that road. And that's why I'm so thankful for each of the modalities has kind of reinforced that exact thing of just the importance of just seeing the other person for where they're at and holding the space for them to be that way.
Yeah.
And supporting them on their journey to wherever it is that they choose to go. So
yeah. And looking at, and I think that is easier when you have examined your own motivations for doing this work. And you have examined your own motivations for why you want to help people or why you're doing this. Because, there's the other extreme is like, well, if I help somebody, then they're not going to learn to help themselves. It's like, well, that's kind of like not great either. Because if if somebody's drowning, you don't be like, well, they should learn how to swim.
Yeah, exactly. Get some lessons. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people definitely, if they're asking for help, and they want to get out of whatever situation they're in, whether it's a living situation or a health situation, being like, well, I could help you, but then you wouldn't learn anything. Well, that's not great either, so there's, but looking at like, why you're helping people or what your motivations are, it's also just another way of like examining who you are, where like getting into your self-awareness in your and like also coming into consciousness of being present and saying, okay, having more of a, I think, a holistic kind of view of the world and our fellow people, and the fact that we are all in this together. And that when you're, you want to help from a place of love and compassion, because that's also how you're helping yourself. You're helping yourself when you help from that space, because you're giving yourself that love and compassion as well. Yeah.
Feels complete.
Yeah, I think so. I just think it's a really pretty card.
I love the card. Is it a bear face or a badger? What's down at the bottom of it?
Yeah, it's a bear.
It's a bear.
Yeah, this is a really cool deck here. There's no glare on this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, just looking at your motivation and where you're coming from. I think too with when you're coming as a wounded healer, because you're so excited about this work and all the things that you've experienced, you can be overzealous.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Yeah.
But then there's also being kind to yourself about that too.
Yeah.
And saying
you're allowed to be excited.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can be excited and yeah, okay. I totally want to share this with everybody. Obviously, yay, it's amazing. But if someone doesn't want it, you can't push that on them. So
yeah, and not look as that as a shortcoming to the work that you do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like an insult to like you. It's just that's just not
their thing.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's not a rejection.
Exactly.
It's not their thing. So there's plenty of people out there who would love to do this. Yeah. If you're one of those people, feel free to book a session with us.
Segue.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm feeling pretty complete with that. Yeah. And then I'm sure everybody who's listening will also get their own message.
Yes, their own interpretation of it for sure.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons too why we read the messages for the whoever's listening or watching at this time is there's what we have to say about it, but what's more important is how you feel about the message, what you're getting from it. Exactly. It's your own journey.
Yeah, whatever resonates, great, and whatever I just forget.
Oh yeah, you always got to say that, if it resonates, that's awesome. If not, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about things. How about you?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Again, good card reads, good enter. Yes. Yay. Yeah,
I think there was a lot of interweaving there. Well, thank you all very much for watching and or listening. Please like and subscribe below. And thank you if you already have subscribed. We really much appreciate it. Yeah, and until next time, just have a really lovely, wonderful week. Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Kim and Angela talk. Please like and subscribe below. To book sessions with Kim, visit keycranio.com. To book sessions with Angela, visit thisreikilife.com. Thank you.
So while we were recording this episode, some dude was outside with a leaf blower making a lot of noise. So we had to pause and silence and all these things during the recording because I'm just in my office and it's a public building. And apparently, and he's never been here on this day. So who knows? Maybe the message is really for him or her. It could be a chick. I don't know. So what's the message, Kim, about this situation? Is this leaf blower dude?
Yeah. So all I said was, is there a message related to the leaf blower kind of coming into the realm of our podcast today? And so the oracle deck that came up was energy and spirit. And the card,
there's definitely a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, yeah. And the card that came up was this one, which is connection. I like
partnership, something or other.
Emeralds or something, but yeah, partnership, contract, commitment. So then I went to the book to see, and it was the third paragraph, and it kind of ties in with what we're talking about on the podcast to do with living in community and our lovely new partnerships that we've formed doing this work. So the message was, however this important commitment takes shape, be open to all the new connections coming your way, including profound new relationships with caring spirits. This card foretells blessings of love, friendship, and shared good fortune expanding in your life. So I don't know how much that has to do with the actual leaf blower man, or maybe it was spirit wanting to give us a message about what we're doing and to keep going, even if there's foibles or whatever along the way, that we'll be making new fun connections with new fun people. And yeah, so just to yeah, no matter what shape it takes.
Let's go with that.
Or not.
Or maybe this is also a bonus message for the audience, or maybe that's a message for the leaf blower dude.
Yeah, it's, the possibilities are endless.
It is.
But it's
Okay.
a nice positive message to end on. So nice
Okay.
little bonus for the audience.
Awesome. So there's your bonus content.
Enjoy.
Have a great day. Thank you.